At 7:18 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday morning, the town of Ridgeway woke up the way it always did. Coffee brewed behind counters. Storefronts unlocked their doors. The same cars rolled down the same streets, passing the same people who had known each other for decades. In a town this small, nothing stayed secret for long, or so everyone believed. Ethan Miller stood at the front of his hardware store, flipping the sign from closed to open, just like he had every morning for the past 12 years. He had built this place with his best friend, Caleb Ross. They met in middle school, bonded over broken bikes and backyard projects, and promised each other they'd never leave Ridgeway. They didn't. They built their lives here. Their families trusted each other. Their money flowed through the same accounts. Their names were spoken together so often, people treated them like one person. At 9:42 a.m., Ethan's phone rang. It was the bank. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, rehearsed. It asked if Ethan was aware that the company account had been emptied overnight. Every dollar, payroll, vendor payments, emergency funds, gone. Ethan laughed at first, assuming it was a mistake, a technical glitch. He said Caleb must be handling something. He always did. There was a pause on the line. Then the banker said something that drained the color from the room. The transfers were authorized using Caleb Ross's credentials. By noon, the story was everywhere. The hardware store closed its doors. Employees stood outside whispering. By 1:30 p.m., police cars were parked in front of Caleb's house. By 2:10 p.m., they realized the house was empty. Furniture gone, clothes gone, family photos missing, his phone disconnected, his social media wiped clean as if he had never existed. At 4:07 p.m., Ethan sat alone in the store office, staring at a framed photo on the wall. Two teenagers, arms slung over each other's shoulders, grinning at a future they believed they owned. He replayed every conversation, every late night, every shared plan, searching for cracks he'd missed. There were none, or maybe they had been there all along. As investigators began digging, the town learned the truth piece by piece, not in a single explosion, but in slow, unbearable drops. Caleb hadn't just stolen from the business. He had been siphoning money from friends, neighbors, even relatives. Small amounts at first, amounts no one questioned. He handled the books. Everyone trusted him. Over years, the theft grew bolder, more aggressive, hidden behind forged signatures and fabricated invoices. At 10 p.m. that night, Ethan received an email. No subject line, no greeting, just a sentence. "I never planned for you to find out like this." Attached were documents, passports under different names, bank accounts in other countries, a timeline stretching back more than a decade. Caleb hadn't panicked. He hadn't improvised. He had prepared. Every handshake, every laugh, every shared memory had been built on an exit plan. As days turned into weeks, Ridgeway unraveled. Businesses collapsed. Retirements vanished. Marriages cracked under the pressure of blame and suspicion. People replayed their own memories, asking how they could have been so wrong about someone they loved, someone they trusted with their kids, their homes, their lives. Ethan stopped sleeping. He stopped answering calls. He walked the same streets he had known since childhood, now lined with faces that looked through him, not with anger, but with something worse. Pity. Because betrayal that deep doesn't just steal money. It steals certainty. It makes people question every relationship they've ever had. 3 months later, authorities traced Caleb to a coastal city halfway across the world. He had started a new business under a new name. New friends, new partners. The same pattern, starting over. When he was finally arrested, reporters asked Ethan how it felt to see his former best friend in handcuffs. Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked down at his hands, scarred from years of building things with someone he thought he knew. Then he said quietly, "The worst part isn't the money. It's realizing the person who knew me best never existed." Ridgeway still wakes up the same way it always did. Coffee still brews. Storefronts still open. Cars still pass familiar faces. But something invisible is gone now. The assumption that trust is permanent. The belief that knowing someone for a lifetime means knowing them at all. Because sometimes, the most dangerous lies aren't told loudly. They're lived patiently for years. 6 weeks after the arrest, the town of Ridgeway thought the worst was over. Caleb Ross was no longer a rumor or a ghost. He was a name on a police report, a face on the evening news, a man in a holding cell thousands of miles away. People told themselves that closure had arrived. That once betrayal was identified, it stopped spreading. They were wrong. At 5:36 a.m., Ethan Miller sat awake in his kitchen, staring at a legal envelope that had been slipped under his door sometime before dawn. No return address, no postage stamp, just his name, written carefully, deliberately, in handwriting he recognized instantly. His chest tightened before he even opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No apology, no explanation, just a sentence. "You were always the clean one. I needed that." Ethan folded the letter slowly, his hands shaking, realizing something he hadn't allowed himself to consider before. Caleb hadn't just stolen money. He had stolen credibility, reputation, trust. Ethan's face, his name, his silence. By mid-morning, the truth began surfacing in ways no one expected. Investigators discovered that several fraudulent loans and shell accounts had been opened not just under Caleb's identity, but under Ethan's forged signatures, cloned IDs, years of transactions buried beneath layers of bureaucracy. On paper, Ethan Miller wasn't just a victim. He was an accomplice. At 11:12 a.m., 2 unmarked cars parked outside Ethan's house. The questioning was calm, polite, methodical. Investigators laid documents across the table, contracts Ethan had never seen, transfers he'd never authorized, companies he'd never heard of. The evidence was overwhelming, not because it was true, but because it was complete. Too complete. A betrayal plan so precisely it anticipated disbelief. As word spread, the town's sympathy shifted. Whispers followed Ethan through grocery aisles. Old friends avoided eye contact. Some believed he was lying to save himself. Others wanted to believe he had been fooled, but doubt is contagious. Once planted, it grows quietly. At 9:47 p.m. that night, Ethan opened his laptop and began searching through old backups, archived emails, anything he had ignored over the years. Buried deep in a folder marked tax drafts was a file he didn't remember creating. It contained encrypted spreadsheets, access logs, a trail that didn't just lead forward, but backward, years backward. Caleb hadn't just been stealing. He had been watching. Every conversation, every routine, every habit. He knew when Ethan traveled, when he didn't check accounts, when trust replaced oversight. He knew Ethan would never suspect him, because trust was the camouflage. At 2:03 a.m., Ethan received another email. No sender, no metadata, just coordinates. 2 days later, under supervision, investigators followed those coordinates to a storage facility outside the city. Unit 317. Paid in cash. Inside were hard drives, burner phones, ledgers, and a wall covered in printed photographs. Town events, family barbecues, school fundraisers, weddings. Caleb had documented the town like a researcher studies a species. Pinned at the center was a photo of Ethan. The final piece came during the trial. Caleb sat quietly behind the defense table, thinner than before, expression neutral. When he finally spoke, it wasn't to deny the theft or explain the escape. It was to clarify one thing. "I didn't destroy Ridgeway," he said evenly. "I revealed it." The courtroom went silent. He described how easy it was to exploit trust, how systems depended on assumptions, how people confuse familiarity with safety. He never raised his voice, never showed remorse. The betrayal wasn't emotional to him. It was logistical. Ethan never looked at him. When the verdict was read and Caleb was sentenced, there was no relief in the room. No victory, just exhaustion. Because punishment doesn't reverse damage, it only confirms it. Months later, Ridgeway still exists. But it functions differently now. 2 signatures instead of 1. Locks where there used to be open doors. Questions where there used to be handshakes. Ethan reopened the hardware store alone. Smaller, quieter. The photo of him and Caleb is gone. In its place is an empty nail in the wall, a space deliberately left unfilled. Because some absences explain more than any picture ever could. And in a town that once believed betrayal was loud and obvious, they learned the hardest truth of all. The most devastating lies don't arrive suddenly. They live beside you. They grow with you. And one day, they stand up and walk away with everything you thought was real.